November 11th is Remembrance Day. This year it's on 11/11/11. No excuse for not remembering, even if you have a screwy calendar system. Still 11/11/11. Now in the past, when I've made videos about Remembrance Day or Anzac Day, I've focused on the somber nature of the days, my personal views about the futility of war, but it's worth remembering that sometimes in the worst of situations, the most amazing qualities of humans come out. It can be kind of uncool among lefty circles, particularly, where I would place myself, to really recognise bravery in war, gallantry as it was quaintly called, because it's seen as glorifying war. But seriously, some things done by soldiers in war are just so amazing. The stories shouldn't be forgotten. Out of all the hundreds, thousands of stories that could be told, I'm going to tell you one from World War I. Possibly the worst, the bloodiest, the most pointless, the most horrible conflict humanity's got itself into. And on the Western Front in France, where it was worst of all. On the 4th of July 1918, there was the Battle of Hamel. Now, this was a relatively small battle, but it was significant for a number of reasons. It was the first time American troops were in a major engagement in the First World War. It was the first time American troops fought under foreign command. They were actually under Australian command for this battle. And it changed the nature of trench warfare because it was so successful with its different tactics. 2 Australians were awarded the Victoria Cross in this battle. That is the highest award for gallantry under fire given by the British Army. And I'm going to tell you the story of one of them. This is Thomas Axford. He was a lance corporal at the time of the battle. He'd seen a lot of action, been injured twice, once so severely it kept him out of action for a couple of months before he joined his comrades again. Now, the nature of this battle, there was going to be 2 columns of attack, and prior to the attack, along with a usual barrage preceding it, the barbed wire protecting the German trench was to have been cut in 2 places under cover of night. Now, when the 2 columns advanced, Axford's got through where the wire was cut. The other column was held up because the wire wasn't cut. Either it hadn't been cut or they were in the wrong position. So they were held up by wire and they were under heavy machine gun fire. Axford saw the other column under fire and charged the machine gun position that was pinning them down. He threw bombs, very primitive hand grenades they had at the time, and then charged the trench with his bayonet by himself. So one guy is charging a machine gun emplacement that has 16 German soldiers on it with no backup because his mates are taking very heavy casualties from this machine gun. Now, what you might have expected to happen is what possibly the Germans expected to happen as well. A lot of VCs were given out posthumously. Soldiers were found after they died, usually in defense of their friends. Axford has charged this position and he has killed 10 of the 16 by himself, and the other 6 have surrendered. Imagine that for a moment. There are 16 of you and one guy is charging you. You've got to think it's going to be a pretty easy thing to take him out. Now, again, one of the things I like to think about, he's charged them. I imagine he was probably yelling as he charged them. What he was yelling, not recorded. He was an Australian. Use your imagination. I believe some of the troops took the trouble to learn some really colourful words in German that they could shout in situations like this. So even as he's throwing grenades, he's taken out a few of his enemy. You'd think even the survivors would go, that was unfortunate, those 2 are dead, but there's still, well, those 3 are dead, but 4, okay, fine, 5, okay, look, we can still take, and at some point, which is the point where he's killed 10 of the enemy by himself, 6 guys have said, you know what, I'm done here, okay, war's over for me, I'm your prisoner, I don't want to die today, let's stop here. So he's taken the position, and to make it clear to the troops who were under fire they were okay, he's thrown the machine gun over the top and shouted to them that they can come down now. Again, what he shouted, not actually recorded. He's an Australian, use your imagination what he might have said to them. And at this point, having taken this position, killed 10, captured 6, he then rejoins the battle. He didn't do anything like, I should take my prisoners back, I'm done for the day. He rejoins the battle, works with his mates, and successfully they execute the mission. I don't know about you, but even trying to comprehend the size of the balls required to do something like that is beyond me. As is so often the case when you hear stories of soldiers committing acts of extreme bravery, it's almost always to defend their mates. Their mates are under fire, they've got a job to do, they do it. In fact, Axford himself was quoted as saying, when one person had asked him, why did you do it? What was going through your mind when you did that? He says, I don't know, I must have been mad. These are not the sorts of situations where soldiers spend a long time considering the situation. These are where they act. And as horrible as war is, and as much as telling this story will make some people go, oh, you're glorifying war. No, I'm not. War is horrible. But there are always people who will exploit the reluctance of decent people to go to war. There are always people who will incite hostility. There are always people who will keep taking and keep hurting others. And all of us are extremely lucky there are also people who will stand up to that. So this Remembrance Day, do remember. Remember the soldiers, remember the support staff, the crew, and remember the civilians, the millions and millions of people over the years who've lost their lives due to war. And remember, sometimes in the worst of situations, the best of humanity comes to the fore.